Okay, excellent. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the personality assessment question, which we get very often. I'm super excited today because I have convinced or lured or hooked or however you want to describe it, Nikita Mikhailov from the UK to come in on this conversation and help me describe to you guys and answer some of the questions that I get a lot. And so I decided to do it in this video format because, well, one big reason is Nikita is an amazing speaker and he brings a lot of fun and language to a conversation that some people can tend to fall off and asleep with. So welcome, Nikita. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that you're excited to bring your own interpretation to personality tests. Everyone out there, just a little bit of background on Nikita. He's a psychometrician and specializing in personality dynamics. I know him through the organization of Lumina Learning, and we both are practitioners through the Lumina suite of tools. I won't say any more about those, and let's just get to the questions. Are you good to go, Nikita?
Absolutely, and I'll try to live up to your introduction of me.
I don't think there'll be any problem there. Okay, you know, the first and obvious question for me, an obvious meaning that I get a lot, is what is a personality test?
Well, it's I prefer to use language of personality assessment because a personality test would be one item. Do you have a personality? Yes, no. And we all know about the personality of people who tick no. So personality assessment is a measure of what you like, what you do too much. And to me, we all have a subjective perspective on the world. And it's very hard to get inside people's head to get an understanding of how people see the world differently. Though I think a good personality assessment, when used in the right way, can give you a good indication of that different perspective on the world around the individual, how they see it.
Great. And how does a personality assessment differ from a psychometric test or a psychometric assessment? Or is there any differentiation at all?
Well, it depends which one you use. There are several properties to psychometrics which separate it from just a test, such as objectivity. It also needs to be normed, so we need to compare it to the population. And most personality assessments out there are psychometrics, which meet that criteria. So it's a psychometric personality assessment. And all that psychometrics mean is that it's a measure of a psychological construct, hence a psychometric. And it just has a little few criteria which you can Google to see if a test passes the mastered when it comes to being worthy of the title psychometric. And one of the ways to do it, I'm pretty sure that wherever you are in your country, you have a professional psychologist body. So in UK, it's British Psychological Society, and they have a special division called RKTU, and they review psychometrics. So publishers send them their assessments to get reviewed, and they get a star rating of how good they are or not so much. And it's separate and more objective measures than just reading the reviews published by the publisher, which might have a little bit of an agenda.
Oh, interesting. I knew you would bring so much more detail to this conversation.
Well, after selling psychometrics for 7 years and applying them across all different settings and qualifying hundreds of people and using them, you know, all sorts of shenanigans comes to mind.
So why are personality tests important?
Well, it depends when they're used, how they're used, and by whom they're used. And that's what, because a personality assessment as it is it's not going to profile anybody itself. It's a tool. So therefore, my main question is how the tool is used and why.
Okay. And so what is the majority of the reason that people come to you looking to have a personality assessment completed?
They don't come to me with that reason. They come to me with the reason of making a better selection decision, more informed, or they want to solve an issue they have between colleagues, or they want to have a better understanding of their romantic partner and the relationship between them, or there are issues of communication breakdown within the team, there's segregation of us and them, or they want a better office design. There's all sorts of reasons why people come to me, where I use my skills and apply psychometric models to bring value to whatever issues that they're facing.
Great. That's a great description. So from there, one of my questions that I was going to ask was, who do you recommend take a personality test? But I feel like you answered that in there. Anybody who's struggling or has questions around things that are not working for them, be it in organizations or in their personal life, that has to do with people. Is that really my simpleton way of explaining it? Did I understand you right?
There's nothing simpleton about it. Well, as a good old joke goes, how many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? One, but the light bulb needs to want to change. Oh. And this is why there's no gift vouchers, etc., because people need to come to this themselves. Otherwise, if people don't want to change, doesn't matter how good the psychometric or psychometrics or the practitioner, it's very little less likely that they will do anything about it.
So just to sidestep my questions here for a minute, I'm curious, in your practice, are you orchestrating more than one tool through your personality dynamics? Like if you're assessing personality, are you using more than one tool?
It depends on the project. So for example, before proposing to my partner, I profiled her with 2 psychometric assessments, because leaving it to one psychometric and a high consequence decision like that is purely irresponsible. So it depends on the case. Okay. So sometimes a couple of tools will do, sometimes one assessment will do, but I believe a practitioner needs to have a very toolbox from which they can choose different assessments based on the needs of the clients, rather than their preferred publisher. Though, of course, I do have preferred publishers myself.
Got it. So I think what I want to take you, the route I want to take you down with that last question, it leads me to a big question that I get all is, why are there free tests, personality tests, and why are there paid tests? And why do the paid testing seem so much more expensive? Can you talk to that at all?
Of course. I mean, it's not very hard to make a personality assessment. Whether it will meet the criteria being a psychometric, that's one thing. 2, as a good old Russian saying goes, free cheese comes only in a mousetrap. So how your data is going to be used on this assessment you're completing for free online, make sure to read the privacy policy, because maybe your data will be sold on to the highest bidder. Maybe not. Maybe they're making it for charity, for people to know thyself. But you never know. Though again, even with commercial publishers where you pay for an assessment, they might also sell your data, so read the privacy policy. But I guess if you're actually paying for the assessment, there's less likely chances to get it sold. But hey, you never know. And I'm low on agreeableness, so I don't particularly trust humans. So to me, also, it's how valid or reliable the test is. Well, the assessment. Because if you're a small operation and the assessment is free, there's not so much demands being made on it. It's free, what you can do with it. But hey, if you have a bigger assessment, which is more valid, reliable, it takes money, effort, energy to create something about it. So a good team of psychologists don't work for free. So therefore, my only times when I use free assessments in inverted commas is for research. So there's good assessment there for academic research that you can use free of charge, but you can also contact publishers, and they usually support your research with one of their tools to get more research information and data. And also there's new solutions which are coming across, like for example, with Luminous Spark. Anybody can download the app and complete the 16 to 24 item quick Spark, or speed reading, as we call it. And then if you want to get the fuller version, you can complete the 144 item one and upgrade your speed reading splash in your app into a full one, which will give you the 3 personas and all sorts of other goodness. So it seems to be more kind of a gradual process, which is evolving from freebie to full one, and a more gradual transition rather than just the free ones and the paid ones.
Got it. Great. And if somebody's looking to choose a personality assessment, what would you recommend, or how do you recommend they look for a good quality one?
Well, going back to those professional bodies I mentioned, You can go to the British Psychological Society RKT website, and you can download guidelines how to differentiate the good from the bad.
Okay.
And if you don't have the conscientiousness for that, it will be to look out for some of the key factors. So, for example, how much research there is out on this particular assessment, published not by the publisher but by the academic community. How's the tool used? Question validity and reliability from the person trying to sell you this tool. Ask basically all the questions that make them uncomfortable. And the more uncomfortable they are, the more you are on the right track of asking those questions.
Great.
And mainly don't take anything as, based, oh, well, we always used it and our customers are always happy. Nobody's always happy. It's a standard distribution. And yeah. Also, once the tool was last updated, so the items, because the English language, any language changed, so make sure that the assessment keeps up with itself. And when was the last time the norms updated? So, to what extent they keep the assessment fresh. Things like that.
Oh, those are great questions. And it's actually, you've given me some questions to actually learn about the tool that you and I or facilitate. And those are great questions for me to know in the background as well too. I never even would have thought to think about updates in language and just overall the structure updates. So thank you for that. So I think I'd be a little remiss if I didn't bring Lumen into this conversation. And I'm dying to hear your answer because I really get that you have quite the experience with a handful of tools. But what do you think sets Lumina apart from other personality assessments?
Well, personality assessments are like people. They're all slightly different. And there's horses for courses, I believe that's the expression. So different tools for different purposes. Lumina works particularly well with individuals and teams. One of the key reasons why I use Lumina is its flexibility. Because a lot of the psychometrics are really good for one-to-one work, and some are good for group work, and some are good for selection. So before you know it, with one team, you might use 3 assessments. So one for the one-to-one work, then the group work, then selecting new people into the team. And then, I love psychometrics. I really do. But if you sit down with a client and you need to walk them through 3 assessments in an hour and 3 different psychometric models, you're spending more time talking about the psychometric than you are listening to the client. So I might love it, maybe the client not so much. So to me, the beauty of Lumina is its versatility. So you can use the mat and the cards and the speed reading of the app to facilitate a quick 2-hour workshop as part of a leadership program. Nice, quick, just as much information as you need. Then if you have a longer program and maybe some one-to-one time, you can use the full reports. There's also so many different ways and you can use the cards and the mat, from gratefulness exercises to identifying what really gets on your nerves really quickly. So plus the fact you can customize the reports from being 2 pages to 90 pages long allows you to be more flexible. If you're working with investment institutions and senior leaders within it, you might want to do a 5-page report because you're not going to freaking read anything longer than that because they don't have time. But if you have something more of a time where people can reflect and think before the team day, you can print 20-page report, or 40-page report, or 50-page report. And even after you deliver the session, if people have the appetite for it, you can generate a 70-page report and send it to them digitally. Well, give them access to the online portal. It doesn't cost me anything additionally as a practitioner. I love that flexibility. So I feel empowered by the tool I use because it gives me the opportunity to use it across all different settings and meet all sorts of client needs. While other assessments that I have used previously make me feel a little bit more constricted because they're, purpose-built tools. So it's not in line with my high openness, low conscientiousness personality. Don't like to be constricted by my tools. I rather feel empowered. And plus we have the app, and it's pretty cool. And another key thing with psychometrics, a lot of psychometrics were built in like 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And I still caught the back end of that. So that's when you had to give an assessment, pen and paper, score it, do a graphical representation. So the best you could do is a pencil and a ruler. So a lot of psychometrics look like that on the output. And when they went digital, some of them didn't innovate digitally. They just put the paper pencil online. So you still have brochures that look like that. And therefore, Lumina was created in 2009, and it was a digitally native tool, such as that splash you see over there. You can draw that on a piece of paper in front of a client when using paper and pencil. And what's really cool with Lumina as well is that right now there's a whole hoo-ha debate in the academic community. Is personality dynamic? I'm reading articles like, we crossed the Rubicon this year to personality dynamics. And I'm like, cross the Rubicon? We did personality dynamics in 2009. This is 2019. So it's quite a long time that has been dynamic, a freaking decade, because we are not static, neither as individuals, neither over a lifetime. But the psychometrics, most of the psychometric community, in their heart, have a built-in model that personality is stable after age of 30. So they don't have anything that can describe personality change. But in Spark, because we have the three personas, we separate what you like, what you do too much, and we measure the opposites. Intrinsically, we can look at personality dynamics. So when I go to a page with all those qualities across the three personas, I go, psychometrics, personality assessment can sound a bit complex. Actually, all we look at is what you like, what you do too much. So we can explore those age-old questions. Do you like what you do? Do you do the opposite what you like? What happens when you can't control yourself so well? And this is what allows for the most richest conversations. Because what's more interesting, are you introvert or extrovert? Maybe they give you a letter if you use a different model. Or are you naturally more introverted, and every day you really become more extroverted, and under stress you need to withdraw in introversion because you don't have any more willpower to control your personality.
Oh, good.
So that to me is something that's very interesting and illustrated beautifully within the app, which was mentioned before. It's actually animated. So Lumina Spark gives me an animated version of personality dynamics. Woo! That's like, exciting in my book.
Yeah, personality assessments are now entering the gaming field.
Well, to an extent, yes, but gamification carries its all sorts of things.
Well, just the look. I'm just speaking to the app, how I really feel like it kind of it draws the attention of that genre as well. It's super fun. Thank you. That was really a great explanation. I think the last topic that I want you to touch on for us, because it's one that seems really popular and brought to my attention, and how Lumina can assist, is the topic of leadership. What is it that you feel Lumina can assist those looking to develop their leadership?
Well, the question is, one sec, I'm talking about leadership. I forgot my charger, so one sec. Well, the question is, what do you mean by leadership?
So for those that are pursuing development or in leadership that are looking to just be, sorry, I'm a miss of what they'd be doing. So whether leadership development on a personal level, or engagement with their teams, or being seen as a leader in their industry. So it could be any of those aspects, but someone who I guess would be looked to by many, many people. How is it that Lumina could assist that type of person in a leadership position, using being the topic of leadership?
Well, that's the thing. I think topic of leadership is just that, a topic. I think from my personal experience, leadership is a tiny proportion of what a person in the leadership position does. And it's also super subjective. Like, people think leadership is this objective construct. You have all these leadership consultants strutting their stuff on stage and saying, oh, you need to be a humble leader, and then they wait for applause. Jesus Christ, if they don't understand the irony of that, then something's lost on them. I don't think leadership per se exists. This is what's more important, is to get behind what people think they mean by leadership. So one of the easiest way I do this in the beginning of a workshop on leadership, I say, well, if you can use the word leadership, what word would you use to describe it? And then, for example, the 4 colors of Spark come across really well. Responsibility for others, empowering, getting stuff done, leading with strategy, and you can use it quite projective. And it's very important to get under the bonnet of this, because so often you have freaking workshops on leadership which give a wishy-washy definition of leadership and build a whole freaking workshop about this, and it's really dangerous. So to me, Spark can allow us to see the subjective side of leadership. And what's really key is that leadership is about people, and first and foremost, it's about person in the leadership position. So for them to have a better understanding of themselves and better understanding of how subjectively they might see the world, and also how they might need to respect the opposite of their personality. Because let's give, for example, right now, one of the things which is quite prominent in leadership is growth versus fixed mindset. Like there's some sort of a battle between them, and growth is the good and fixed is the past. Somebody might throw in acronyms like VUCA and other nonsense, which doesn't mean anything really, because it can mean anything. Like the world is changing, always been. And now maybe a little bit quicker. You don't need to make an acronym about it. And I feel that it values one over the other. In Spark, we don't value stuff one over the other. We say everything can be a strength, everything can be a weakness. And Spark breaks down into growth fixed mindset nicely, because Spark is Big Five based. And as a good Big Five model, it breaks out into two factors: plasticity and stability. Plasticity is made up of extroversion and openness and has to do with your dopaminergic systems, amongst other things. And then you have stability, which is all about stability. It's being highly agreeable, nice to people, which helps. Low neurotic, which I'm not. So I'm not particularly stable. Or is it just the coffee? And then it also has to do with conscientiousness, willpower. And in Spark, we have a breakdown of the model. And what I mean by this, all our aspects are correlated about 0.4, 0.5, apart from a break between outcome focused and discipline driven, and people focused, inspiration driven. Correlation 0.1. So it's kind of a split. So the model splits into two. So you have plasticity on one side, the rightish, and the stability on the leftish side of the model. And what's important here is that you need both. If you have too much plasticity and not enough stability, you will have chaos. Like I always say, a potato has growth mindset. You shove it in a cupboard, leave it for a couple of weeks, open it up, grows in all different directions. But what's the point of that? No point. You just ruin the good potato. And too much stability, you have stagnation. Nothing ever changes. And therefore, you need both. And for them to both to exist, each side needs to respect each other. And this is where the overextended of the math is really powerful. So, for example, one of the examples is that I don't particularly give a damn of how high you are on big picture or how low you are on down to earth. You can be 99.9 percentile on big picture, 5th percentile down to earth. But if you see down to earth as boring, then we have an issue. Actually, you have an issue, because you have an Achilles heel, because you don't respect your opposite, therefore you're not likely to integrate it. And then you might get off on flights of fancy. And in teams, especially in leadership positions with this rhetoric, what's more likely to find? You're going to question yourself, or you're going to find Charles over there, who's also high on openness. And you go, Charles, I need to talk to you about something. He says, Bob, what is it? Well, Jimmy there? Jimmy, he's change resistant. He's shooting down my ideas. Oh, completely. I totally agree with you. He's so change resistant, complete naysayer. Oh, I'm so happy we had this conversation. You find people to reinforce their biases.
Got it. Did I lose you, Nikita?
To me, it allows us to illustrate this in some really interesting ways in team dynamics. Oh, no, I'm still here.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
I might have lost myself to high on plasticity. And and to me, actually dealing with this in a more playful, interactive way and illustrating some key points using the model is what's important in leadership development per se. But I would never say that Yeah, I find that, why when people say, I'm a leadership consultant, why people don't ask what do you mean by leadership? Usually it's like, what do you do? And I work with senior leaders. How boring is that? Jesus.
Okay, stop. We might have a little bit of a political debate going on in the back end here. We're good. So that your point works really well. Your points that you brought up work really well, that leadership is just that, a topic. And there's so much in that topic. And as soon as people are involved, that's the whole personality dynamic thing. And we need to get clear on our own awareness and description of what we call things and how we have relationships with those ways of being. That's kind of where I go in the whole leadership. With you, I have them bring their own definition to the forefront. What is leadership for you? What do you look like when you're a leader? Or what do you want to look like when you're a leader? And then in Lumina, in the personality assessment, when we bring that forward, that's where that conversation can start getting more tangible and they can get more specific. And that also falls into teams where it becomes like understanding of your leader, and that's the venue I go with when I'm in that leadership topic conversation. Sorry, I have my rescue dog here. He's looking for my attention now. This is great. Is there anything?
That's all right.
Is there anything that you feel you should bring to this conversation or this interview? Anything that you want to suggest or talk about, or anything else you want to say to the viewers?
Well, just that psychometrics can be really fun. Psychometrics don't have a lot going for them. Even the name, psychometrics. You might just yawn just saying that.
Yeah.
Personality assessments. Jesus, seriously. Oh.
I know.
And
I think that's why. Sorry, but I think that's why I get that question a lot. Is what's the difference between a personality and the common word is test. When I'm actually collecting all the data, personality test is actually the most sought terminology as far as this assessment and analytics are being used. So they'll always get asked, what's the difference between a personality test and a psychometric? So you answered that beautifully earlier, and thank you very much for that. I'm sure this space will get a lot of attention. And Nikita, are you okay if I put your contact details on with this video so the viewers have a way to reach you? I know you're out of the UK. Are you close to London?
Oh, yes, but I'm Russian by background, so to me, everything is next door in UK, I guess by Australian standards as well.
Great. I'm going to say goodbye to our audience, but don't go anywhere. Nikita, you and I will have a quick conversation. So thank you all for having a sit and listening to personality assessments and meeting Nikita. And, I will leave the details for where you can reach the both of us. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.